Joe, it's breaking today. Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, both reporting that Jim Harbaugh is heading to L.A. for the Chargers, leaving Michigan after winning the national title this year. Very quickly, what do you think about the move with Harbaugh to the Chargers?
Yeah, as I said in the open, not really surprised by this. We saw this starting to gain steam, and it makes a lot of sense why, with the timing of everything, why he would pursue the opportunity to leave the NCAA. We understand everything that could be coming down the pipeline in terms of punishment. There is an investigation going on with the sign stealing scandal. We don't know the severity of it. Is it a bowl ban? Is it vacated wins? We don't really know. But
is he going to show cause?
Right?
Is it a
full season long suspension?
Right.
It's in Harbaugh's best interest to move on to the NFL. And we knew that this is something that he had considered for multiple years over the past couple of seasons, especially most recently with the Minnesota Vikings. He was successful and got the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. We know that he was good enough of a coach to win a national championship. And now here is an opportunity for him to pursue a Super Bowl, to get that final Infinity Stone and the gauntlet, if you will, that he's trying to go after. But yeah, I'm not surprised by this. He's on to the next thing.
Let me just say this in reference to the Chargers. It's a great move for them because you have a really good and young quarterback that you drafted. You have a lot of good offensive pieces. Harbaugh is an offensive-minded guy. I think the biggest winner in all of this is Justin Herbert. Like, without question, it's Justin Herbert because the offense that he's going to want to run, Joe, he hasn't changed anything. Harbaugh isn't really changed anything from the NFL to college. He's a tough nose, line it up, run the football, but they're going to be a little bit more open in the NFL with him. Okay, this also solidifies everybody talking about J.J. McCarthy going with Harbaugh in the draft. That is not going to happen because they're going to stay with Justin Herbert. But it's a big, big win, in my opinion, for the Chargers. Joe, coaches have it's specifically head coaches are different, man. Sometimes there are scratches that you just have to itch. We've seen Saban leave college. He went to Miami. He tried it out in the NFL. He obviously came back. But I think that Harbaugh, like the one thing that he wants more than anything is a Super Bowl. And so, look, he's, regardless of what you think about him, regardless if you think, they cheated and he's a little bit of a slime ball, or, people make fun of him, Joe, because he wears khakis and he wears cleats and he drinks, he brags about drinking large glasses of milk. Like in an interview, he's talking about the large glasses of milk that he drinks. Regardless of all the craziness of Harbaugh, this is a damn strong hire for the Chargers. Nobody should be more excited than Justin Herbert. But we are not an NFL show. We are a college football show. But just to talk about the move, Joe's a national title-winning coach. And I know that the NFL and the NCAA is different, but we've seen the man get Colin Kaepernick at quarterback, the San Francisco's 49ers, to a Super Bowl, right? Like, this isn't like he can't get there. He wins everywhere he goes. Literally wins everywhere he goes. So good for the Chargers and good on, I think it's the Spanos family for making the move. Yeah. So good on them.
Well, and to just continue the thoughts here for the Chargers before we kind of bring it back to the college football angle, it's a very high floor hire. There hasn't been a single place that he's gone when he was the head coach at University of San Diego, when he was at Stanford, and then when he ended up at the 49ers and then back at Michigan, that he didn't have a consistent winning record. The one bad year that they had was during COVID, and that was a whole mess. And, we don't need to rehash.
Do we really blame him for that?
Right. That's what I'm saying. We don't need to relive the complications. There were a lot of weird things that happened with teams that were good when they weren't supposed to be, like Indiana, and then bad when they weren't supposed to be, like Michigan. He has been so consistently good. And I think that at the very worst, you're going to have a consistent playoff team, whether it's a wild card team, whether it's winning the division. This is what the Chargers needed to bring themselves back to relevance. I think that this, as you talked about, is the perfect situation, and just in terms of the roster construction at the moment, for Jim Harbaugh to take it and to hit the ground running like he's done at every single job that he's had. He did that with the 49ers. He did that with Michigan. Again, he has hit the ground running every single time that he has taken over a job over the past few jobs that he's been a part of. They've got really good defensive pieces. They're very physical up front, and they can be physical up front. Their offensive line needs a little bit of work, but the biggest part here is that Justin Herbert has a lot of really good receivers. I mean, one could argue that there's the shell of what he needs to build the NFL's version of Michigan, which is built along the lines of scrimmage, running the football, developing your offense on rolling out and play action and moving and throwing on the run, all of that stuff. The bones are there for him to do that with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Let me ask you the question and the big elephant in the room. Does this signify that Michigan's about to get popped by the NCAA? Because let me tell you this. It's not as if Harbaugh has not had the opportunities to go other places, Joe. Well, a lot of people report, well, this happened when he interviewed this time, that happened when, he interviewed that time. I don't really buy that. I think he makes this move solely because of a thing, too. Number one, he's a national title winner, okay? And number two, he holds all the pieces and the cards here on where he wants to go. All NFL teams that have openings would have taken Harbaugh. That's just the truth. Does this signify for Michigan that the NCAA is about to come down hard on them with some sanctions?
I think so. I had kind of heard a little bit of a murmur that something was potentially coming. I don't know what it is. Shut up. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but yes, the timing does make me kind of think, does this mean that something is going to be coming? I think yes, at the very least in the next month. I know that that's a really massive window, but in the scheme of the NCAA moving at an incredibly snail-like pace and it also being the offseason, a month sounds pretty realistic. We could maybe even hear something by the end of the week that something's coming. But yeah, it sounded like that disrupted the capability of Harbaugh renegotiating with Michigan to stay. I don't think that he really wanted to stay. He just wanted to have that on the table so that he could properly get the best deal possible from the Chargers or the Atlanta Falcons. But it did seem to impact his ability to get the salary that he was looking for if he decided to go back to Michigan because of the implications that would come into place of, is he suspended? Is he suspended without pay? How does that all look?
So let me just say this too about Harbaugh, because with everything that's come out, I think one thing gets missed and we don't talk about as much. Joe, he's still a really damn good coach. Like, Joe, I remember when I first came on to Believe with AYS, and I took a lot of ridicule because we used to have a segment that we would just talk about all college football, okay? Like, all we did was talk about college football. Kind of like I just did a segment twice a week, kind of like just what we're doing the show on. And Harbaugh lost like 3 straight against Ohio State. And I was like, guys, you can't hit the panic button. Like you cannot hit the panic button. In 2020, okay, after the bad COVID year, I came out, Joe, and said something that people ridiculed me for in reference to, I thought that he still could win a national championship at Michigan. Got obliterated, okay? Long story short, we're here. I think what gets missed in all this, because Harbaugh leaving, them winning a national title and a cheating scandal, like, I know Ohio State fans will be probably the only fan base that disagrees with me here. They will say, well, he's just a cheater. Okay, well, cool. He's still a really good coach, Joe, and this is a massive home run hire for the Chargers. And I think that goes unnoticed and missed from a college football aspect.
Yeah, that just kind of final thought on the departure aspect before I think we're going to, really dive into what does this mean next for Michigan. But he deserves recognition for the success that he did produce at Michigan. And it had been a very long time, multiple head coaches in the past 20 years of not even coming close. Like, there were a lot of down years. And me being a Notre Dame fan, yeah, I absolutely relished in the fact that Notre Dame was beating the crap out of Michigan most years. We had Brady Hoke, we had Rich Rod. They were consistently not only mediocre, but there were a lot of years where they were below mediocre. They were not a good football program. It felt like Michigan was really starting to get passed by, and he really raised the standard at Michigan. He really improved the quality of play to the point where they're consistently churning out not just championship caliber teams over the past couple of years, but since he first got there, a lot of NFL draft picks, a lot of first round draft picks, a lot of defensive backs, a lot of defensive linemen, and he's about to potentially put a first round quarterback into the NFL because of his recruitment, because of his player development. I think it really is proof of how good of a head coach he has been in the college ranks. And it sucks in 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I think our understanding and our legacy of him is probably going to be a little bit marred. I don't think it's totally justified because of the one thing that happened.
You don't think that people are going to envy, like, man, Harbaugh? You know what I think is going to happen? I think teams are like big, high profile teams are going to make coaching changes. And if things start not working out with the Chargers, Harbaugh's name's constantly going to come up.
Oh, for college jobs.
For college jobs.
Yeah,
I don't think this is the end all be all. It might be for Harbaugh.
I think it is. I mean, he's kind of up there.
Remember how John Gruden's name before he went to the Raiders, how it always came up, like everybody was going to hire John Gruden?
Yeah, but John Gruden is a lot younger. Like John Gruden's only 60 now.
Yeah, that's true, but I just think that, we'll see. But I do think that people
they're both 60.
I just think people like once time passes, his legacy will continue. And you know what's going to amplify that? Is when the next head coach doesn't beat Ohio State consistently. It's good. His legend at Michigan's going to build because they're not beating Ohio State. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay. All right.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.